started working as a kitchen hand, washing dishes and things in a few different restaurants and a few different places until I worked hard enough that somebody offered me an apprenticeship. Look, one thing I'll admit tentatively, the one thing that I do love about it, I actually love the ruthlessness of the industry. Like I love the way you just can't let up for a minute, you know. It's something that really drives me forward and keeps me going day to day. It's kind of, I guess I'm a bit like an adrenaline junkie in a way. You know, I love the adrenaline I get off on it. You know, it's something that I find, I guess it really keeps my passion going.
Alright, so this is Ben from Gerard's and he's just going to break down the dish that he did for the night.
Cool, so the first thing we're going to do before we get started on anything else, peruse the time, so this is the pork liver parfait. So the dish that we're doing, the reason I did it and everything that goes into it is I wanted to create a dish. We got these beautiful suckling pigs that are reared by the Schultz family on their farm. They're reared just for us. So what I wanted to do was do a dish that kind of encapsulated everything from their farm specifically. So all the elements that were on the plate that had anything to do with the meat factor were all from that pig. So we take everything from the pig. From the blood, we make a blood sausage from the blood of the suckling pig, which gets turned into like a blood pudding, a caramelised blood pudding that goes on there. The livers from the suckling pig get made into a suckling pig liver parfait. And the thing that's amazing about suckling pig is the fact that it's been feeding on mother's milk, you know. So I wanted to turn that on its head and take it a step further and go, well, what if we took the milk from the mother that the pig's been feeding on, and then when we get the pork in here, to cook it in its mother's milk to kind of enhance that richness and take it further. So that was the concept that we did. So the first thing we're going to do now is we'll make the suckling pig liver parfait. And we're just going to let that reduce right down. So the onions are going to cook as it's coming down and they're going to release all the natural sweetness of their own. Yep, so these are the livers from the suckling pigs. Then we're going to add to that just 4 eggs and a couple of yolks. Right, so once that's all mixed together nicely, all we're going to do, we're just going to sit it up above the cooktop here, just where it's nice and warm. And let that just warm gently up there. So it's important in the final products with this that we have everything at the same temperature. So we want them all to be at a similar temperature when we blend them together so that it emulsifies really well. All right, so from this pig, the way that we're going to break it down so that we use every part of it, we'll take the leg away from the back, then the leg and the rump we'll use to make a sausage to go back into the loin, which is this part. So you get the loin of the pig up here, and then the belly flap that will separate away from the loin. So this comes together as one whole. And then the sausage that we make from the leg, we're going to wrap it back inside that to make like a ballantine from the pig. That's that part. And then we come into this section here, we'll take the rack. So, you know, you get a really nice part up the back of the loin continuing up with the bones on there. So we'll take that together to form that part. The shoulder from here, so we'll take that shoulder off and then keep it whole. And then from there, the rack and the ballantine will be put into the mother's milk and then cooked in the bag in milk very slowly over at a low temperature over a long period of time. The neck and the head then get turned into the sauce to go with it. So you need that for the collagen that goes into the sauce so that you have a really thick, really textured sauce, you know, and gets that really nice gelatinous. Yeah, so like a sticky mouthfeel. So there are all those parts that go into there. So pretty much nothing from this animal goes to waste.
What are your proudest moments? Like, what do you find your biggest achievements?
Look, the success of Gerard's Bistro is definitely one of my biggest achievements. It's something, the concept was something that I built from the ground up with the other owners, so it's something that we, it was very unique and specific to a time. We weren't trying to be something that somebody else was already doing. We just wanted to do what we wanted to do, and we wanted to do it in our own way, and we wanted it to be something that we love and are proud of, and it certainly worked out that way in the end. So the next stage we're going to go with from here, aside from the sausage, so this is the mother's milk that the pigs have been producing. So it's such a dick. Can we just roll with it?
Yeah, okay.
Look, it tastes very similar to regular milk. The only difference is it's got a little bit more richness to it, and it's got a bit of an earthy mushroom sort of characteristic that comes through. Not in an unpleasant way, it's in a really good way. So the next thing we're going to do from these is we're just going to season the flesh on these really nicely, and then the skin to a degree as well, and just let them sit And the same with the racks. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to vac these in bags. There you go, you can have the shoulder. Take the rack. Just a bit of that milk in there.
And where would you like Brisbane's food scene to head?
I'd like to see Queensland produce to be more celebrated in Queensland, to see a more specific local scene, local producers that are doing great things that should be supported more across the board and really propped up and elevated. And then in the long term we can have a food scene that's very specific to us and a food style that's specific to Queensland. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is make this ballotine to go through. So that's the loin and just the belly flap that comes off the pork. So what we're going to do, that's the legs that we've taken from one prior and the cheeks, and we've just minced that down, so a rough mince. So what we're going to add to that to flavour is these are just some shallots that we've confied off. So what we use here, we use flavoured oils for seasoning quite a lot. So we'll make a shallot oil and a garlic oil and a few different things because they can add seasoning to a dish instead of salt, salt and pepper, regular seasonings. But shallot oil and garlic oil can add like a really nice natural sweetness to counterbalance some things that are overly done in other ways. So that's something we use. And then this is a spice blend that we use called Advia. So this is a Persian spice blend. Yeah, if you smell it, smells incredible.
It smells amazing. I can smell it.
So in here we got there's rose petals, dried black lime, turmeric, coriander, cumin, cloves. Really kind of heady floral sort of spices, I guess, to go in there. And this is a spice mix that's used in Persia quite heavily. So we're just going to add those and some salt. So the next thing we're going to do is just take some of it. We're just going to set it in here next to this. It's important when you're making these sausage sort of mixes, you want to keep everything really cold. So make sure it's all really fresh from the fridge and ice cold, which is why the shallots we'd had them pre-done. Otherwise what will happen is you'll end up with a sausage meat that doesn't hold together. Once you cook it, it'll separate out and the waters will come from it, the liquids. So the idea being we're just going to bring this around and you want it just kind of to overlap ever so slightly on the other side. So something like that, bring it together in a way that works. And we're just going to drop it on there. Fold it over and then nice and tight. So the next step from there is we'll just put that into a cravat bag as well, just to cover off, make sure it doesn't get in. Right, so as this is starting to come down, you can see that amount of Pedro Jimenez that we had in there is pretty much all but almost reduced down. So what we'll do is we'll just leave that for another couple of minutes. But the last stage, which is quite important that we'll add to it, is we're just going to add this thyme to it. But it's important you don't add it in the early stages, because you just lose all the beautiful freshness that you get from it. Like for me with herbs, it's all about freshness. It's about the oils, it's about everything working well together. So if you add it too early, it's just going to cook everything down and you're not going to get that beautiful freshness from it. So you add it in the last stage and then just let that infuse. So the next thing we're going to do from here, this is something we've pre-made from the blood of the pigs. So with blood, you don't really want to mess around with it. So when it comes in fresh straight away, we work with it immediately. So hence, I don't have the fresh blood to work with today with you, but basically what we did, we mixed this together with some of the meat and the skin from the jowl, which we cooked down to make gelatinous. We just cooked it in the bag sous vide. We mixed it together with the blood with a little bit of cooked broken down rice, just to absorb, and some spices in there as well. What we're going to do with this is we actually want to get a really nice caramelised, rich flavour from this, just to carry everything else through. So these now, we're just going to put it onto the stove and just get the heat up there and get it all really nice and caramelised. So what we're going to do is just chuck in an equal weight of what we had of the blood sausage and an equal weight of red wine. Just let that kind of separate all the stuff off the bottom, bring it all up, and then we're going to reduce it down until there's nothing left. So we're going to take it back down to a glaze.
And what's your advice or top tips for the chefs out there?
I guess my top tips would be, as a young chef coming out into the industry, just be disciplined, have an open mind while you're working through. Watch everybody and see what they're doing and the different chefs that you're working with. If you see something that one chef's doing that's amazing and another chef is doing, don't just be told that this is the way it is, but form your own opinion and really take the best of everyone that you can see around you and then pull that best together to make something that works for yourself and something that makes sense to yourself. What we're going to do with the radishes, we'll just cut these leaves off. We're going to use the leaf as well for a part of garnish. Radish leaf for me has got a beautiful flavour. It's great. I wouldn't really want to see it put to waste. The first one, this is just kind of like a really basic sour pickle liquid, so it's just salt and vinegar and water. There's nothing else in there but that. So we're just going to add these leaves to that because you don't want to have any sweetness in these, so I just want to have really nice sharp flavour. So it's quite a quick pickle in here as well. We're not going to take too long.
Why do you need the 2 stages of pickle?
Because you want to achieve different flavours from them. So
Flavors?
yeah, the other one's agridoux, so it's like a French style. It's glucose, vinegar and water. So the glucose kind of adds a viscosity to it, and it kind of breaks them down, and you get the kind of this pliable pickle that you get. You know, it kind of goes a little bit rubbery but crunchy at the same time. You know, basically all we want to do is just get a nice thin slice from it, something like that.
And how far in advance do you have to do this?
You can do this pretty much an hour in advance, and that'll be enough in there. But you do it the day before, it wouldn't really make any difference. So all you do is just drop those in and let the pickle work its magic. So the other one that we're going to use is a daikon radish pickle, but this one takes longer. So this one doesn't get done in the agridoux, it gets done in the straight pickle. But because it's thick, you kind of wanted to give it a fair amount of time in there. So you can see like it's gone a little bit floppy, but it retains all the texture and the crunch in there. So kind of you still got that daikon radish flavour coming through in it. Yeah, it's really, really good. Right, so the next stage of the garnish that we're going to use is these figs. So figs are in season at the moment, they're amazing. Figs are one of my favourite things to use, really versatile for savoury foods. There's always that Middle Eastern element with figs as well, which is something that I'm keen to use. So, right, so to cook these are going to go in for about 8 hours, so 8 to 12 hours is ideal, at a temperature of 72 degrees. So this is going to be for the pork liver parfait. So basically we're just going to put these together. All we're going to do now is just pour it into these containers. And we're just going to cook them in a combi oven on 80% humidity at 80 degrees for around 45 minutes to an hour, just until they're almost set. That's it. Right, so now that that red wine's really come down and it's pretty much all but evaporated, what we're going to do now is just add, this is some of the stock from the pork before we reduce it down to make a sauce. So we're just going to add that into it now. And that again is an equal part, and let that come down again. Because if you're doing something that doesn't make sense, it's not true. So always be questioning what you're doing and why. So ask why all the time. Don't disrespect the people that you're working for, but for your own mind, ask yourself why and push forward that way. On top of that, don't try to pursue success too early, you know, really take your time to look around. Right, so now that that chicken stock and everything's come down, you can see it's like a really nice, beautiful thick. So glaze, super rich, like you smell it, it's just insane. So what we're going to do is just drop it in the thermo as well, and basically just treat it exactly the same way as we did with the parfait. So just going to blend it really nice and smooth, and then pass it through a chinois, and that's all we need to do. Right, so basically what we're doing now, so we've got a really nice caramelisation on the crust of that, you know, so a really nice crisp crackling on there. So we just want to get a really natural flavour on it while we take it through. So Coles for me is the best way to achieve those sort of flavours. This is a cheese that we've made from that pig's milk that we were talking about earlier, from the mother's milk. So basically what we do, we just bring it up to a temperature, about 70 degrees to pasteurise it. And then we let it cool back down to body temperature. And we add a mesophilic culture to it, so a cheese culture, which helps it set over a couple of days.
How can you inspire others to enjoy great food and cooking?
At the expense of sounding corny, I guess my answer would be, you know, I hope I already am inspiring people. I hope that people are enjoying what I'm doing. I'll definitely keep trying to inspire people. I'll definitely keep trying to do that. And I hope that I always will. Does that sound better? Less corny? All right, so this is it. You gonna enjoy it? I suppose a toast and all. Cheers.
Cheers.